morning. It's Monday, March 3rd. Thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. We're bringing you all the news, announcements, and events, along with a couple of special guests. I'm Dr. Amy Tan, Dean of HCC's English and Communications, and today I'm joined by a guest co-host, Dr. Melissa Miller-Waters, our Director of Accreditation, Evaluation, and Planning. Good morning, Dr. Miller-Waters.
Good morning. It's so great to see you, Dr. Amy Tan.
It's great to see you too on this slightly rainy day, but I think the sun's going to come out.
Right.
Not sure.
Right. I think it ought to.
And the countdown to spring break is starting for some people, probably, right? 4 more days.
Yes. A week from today, we will not be doing this.
No, we will be taking a break that week. But we're so happy to be with you today, and we are live whenever HCC is in session. How can people find us, Melissa?
So we are live on the Houston Community College District Facebook page, not the HCC one, and on YouTube. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and on HCCTV at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Today, we're talking about the serious subject of human trafficking and an upcoming HCC event dealing with it. And Dr. Melissa Miller-Waters will be interviewing Dr. Byran Martin, who is our HCC government instructor at Northwest College. Good morning, Byran.
Good morning, Dr. Tan. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, we are very interested to hear all the information you're going to share on this important event that HCC has set as a priority and takes very seriously. So we'll be right with you.
Thank you.
So coming up first, we have our Mental Health Monday guest. And today we are going to be discussing anxiety with Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, who is the Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston and our Mental Health Monday guest. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Well, so I know everyone is interested in this topic because everyone can relate, most likely, to having anxiety at some point in their lives. But you're going to talk to us about something a little different. You say that nearly 20% of Americans experience an anxiety-related disorder every year, and more than 30% experience one in their lifetime. So can we start with a definition of anxiety?
Yeah, so this is a subject that's really close to me. I'm one of those statistics. Anxiety comes from a root word angor, A-N-G-O-R, which is clearly, I think we would imagine pretty quickly, is connected with our English word anger, and also words like angina, which is a heart condition. And you know what they all share in common is the connotation of constriction. So, for anyone who struggles with anxiety, constriction is a common experience. I will say that I deal with the emotion of anxiety, but what I actually feel is my guts just constricting, just, like this. And, other kinds of disorders like irritable bowel syndrome are pretty closely associated with anxiety for that reason. So for me and for others who struggle with anxiety, the physiological side of it is that our muscles will tense up, right? My sweat glands will open, maybe my blood pressure will increase. Anxiety from a psychological standpoint has a close relationship with fear. So fear is our reaction to a threat, like a present threat in our environment. And it's hardwired, right? This is intended to keep us safe. If there's a threat in the environment, we want to be able to tense up and be ready to act or to try and avoid the threat. So you can think about anxiety as fear that is projected into the future. We don't know the threat is present, but we fear that it might be, or that it might be coming soon. So in a sense, anxiety is the fear of an imagined future.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And, listening to you talk about anxiety with physical symptoms, right? So that it's not just something that is in our head, right? This is something that we feel physically, and it's related to that sense of fear that's triggering it. So speaking of, what causes anxiety? And what you mentioned a little bit that it has a purpose, but tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, really anything that causes us to think about future events, or you mentioned how focused I was on the body, but it is important to say that a very frequent symptom of anxiety is racing thoughts, right? An inability to stop worrying or stop being focused on something that might come. So really anything that might get us to focus on that is going to or can trigger anxiety. And it has been going up. The incidence of anxiety in 2024 was about 43% of Americans said that they had experienced increased anxiety over the prior year, which represented a significant leap over prior years, which each of them, I think it was about 32% and then 35%. So anxiety has been going up. And in the research, fears about the economy, the election, which was upcoming then, and gun violence actually were the top three reasons cited for an increase in anxiety. Can also be influenced by family history, which is very much true in my case. My grandmother, my dad's mom, and my dad both struggled with anxiety in different ways and to pretty significant degrees. So as to purpose, it's evolved as a way of guiding us away from potentially dangerous situations, right? It has an evolutionary purpose. If we come to the edge of woods and there's not a trail there and it's kind of dark in there, you can imagine that, our body might have an anxiety response without us even thinking about it. We don't see anything. You might not see a bear, right? Right, for instance, but our bodies are wise to tense up, right? We could get lost. We could encounter a critter out there that means us harm, or we could get injured and be unable to contact help. Anxiety is meant to protect us. But when it's overactive, it can keep us from functioning properly in the world.
Well, and that's when many of us struggle, right? When it's preventing us from functioning. So what can we do about that so that we can go on with our, daily activities? When do we trust it? When should we let it go?
Yeah. But, and this has been hard for me over time because I felt very flooded by it at times. But we do want to start with the assumption that the anxiety is telling us something important. It may be that we're nearing a dangerous situation that we need to prepare for. It's a little bit like having an antenna on your head. And sometimes it really is telling you something important down the road. Sometimes it's giving you a lot of noise, right? Trusting it involves doing some reality testing. So we want to notice what thoughts go along with the anxiety. Are they associated with something we can fact check, right? Is there a belief underlying it that we can really check reality and see if it's true? I feel strongly as a therapist that one of the biggest drivers of anxiety today is media, but what we call the traditional media as well as social media and the forces that are behind media. Unfortunately, anxiety can be a great motivator to act in certain ways, and it is very easy to evoke anxiety in others, both to motivate action and to monetize our attention. Because of course, the more scared we are, the more we want to watch, right? The more we want to check in and find out what's going on. So it's important to really research what is persistently creating this anxiety in our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you're talking about, that fact checking, like sort of, trying to find, and sometimes that's hard when you're panicking, right? If the anxiety is causing you to panic, then you're not kind of able to sort of pause and say, okay, what are the facts? But we're going to run out of time, but I want to hear, how do we know when we are heading towards an anxiety disorder?
Yeah, it's pretty, I would say, deceptively straightforward, which is that if it's interfering with our ability to live our lives, that is when we know. If we're unable to leave the house, if we're unable to get tasks done because we're sort of consumed by worry and physical symptoms, I would say that there are ways of dealing with it. Psychotherapy and medication can help. I have to say, and I know you're an avid runner, I have to say that exercise is really, really, really helpful. It's why I exercise every morning. I used to run, and now I do other things, but it can really help and create a baseline sort of level of stability for you through the day. And other body techniques like meditation, yoga, and mindfulness practice, or actually just spending time outside in these small windows when it's when it's cool enough to spend time outside.
That's right. And when it's not raining. No, I think that's wonderful. And I swear to you, I use my running for for that focus and meditation. And I do remember there was, when I was listening to a podcast during the pandemic, there was a neurologist who said the best thing you can do, I probably said this on the show before, is to go outside, be active with people. So before we let you leave, tell us what's coming up at the Jung Center.
Yeah, so as ever, there are new things happening every week. I'll mention that because I mentioned meditation, I'll say that we do offer free monthly meditations. They're held online. They're done in both English and Spanish. The Spanish meditation is going to be on March the 12th, and the English meditation on March the 13th. Anybody can join those. We have many different classes that are ongoing that people who are watching can check out. I'll also say that we're welcoming Clint Smith to town. Clint Smith is a best-selling author. He's a poet and a journalist. He'll be here for our annual benefit dinner next week, or no, rather in 2 weeks on March the 18th. And so I would welcome everybody to check those out.
Excellent. Lots of great things. Thanks so much for being here today. As always, great information.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Excellent. Well, that was Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick, the Executive Director of the Jung Center of Houston, and our Mental Health Monday guest. We're going to have all the information in our post after the show. After a quick commercial break, Melissa will be back to talk about an upcoming human trafficking presentation.
At Houston Community College, we make your lessons matter. Open the door to real-world education, where passions become careers. Find out more at hccs.edu and let your success take flight.
That one day at PE when they were yelling at me, and then you just linked arms with me. I don't think you know how much that helped me. I finally knew that I had somebody.
Thank you so much, Amy and Sean, for that information. Now we're going to turn our attention toward Dr. Byran Martin, who is an HCC government instructor for Northwest College and an organizer of an upcoming event for about human trafficking. Welcome to the show, Byran.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We all want to learn about the event, but first let's talk a little bit about the issue. How many victims of human trafficking are there estimated to be in the state of Texas?
Well, from the data that we have, over 300,000. And if you want a little perspective of that, I mean, that's a little over 1% of the state's population. Not to mention, almost 80,000 of those are exploited for sex trafficking. And sex trafficking in general has cost the state over $6.5 billion. So the overall human trafficking numbers were including sex trafficking and labor trafficking.
I mean, these are shocking numbers. Can you tell us the details of the event so that we can all make sure to be there, and then we'll return to our topic?
Sure. Monday, March 24th from noon to 2 at the Katy campus in the main Katy room. It's 101. It's the main Katy room in the lobby. I will be putting on a workshop. I normally do this for my class, but I decided to open it up to the entire campus. I have two speakers, one named Miss Sheila Whittle, and the other one is a human trafficking survivor by the name of Zion Johnson. I've not heard Miss Johnson before, so I'm really looking forward to her presentation. And at this workshop, we're going over some basic myths of human trafficking, explaining the difference between sex and labor trafficking, go over resources, what to look out for, and what you do if you suspect or see something that makes your spidey senses go off.
I mean, given the shocking numbers of how many people it affects in the state of Texas, I'm very excited to hear from your two speakers, particularly Zion, who's going to give us, information from personal experience that will really help us better understand how we can help interrupt what we see happening. And I'm sure in Houston, given the numbers, I'm sure we're a hub.
Big time. Houston, it is a major problem across the U.S., but in Houston in particular, we are a hub. We're one of the largest international entries of port, and in particular in West Houston, there is a lot of trafficking. In particular, massage parlor brothels. That's a big issue in sex trafficking. So yes, it's an incredibly important subject, and yeah, I'm glad I have a chance to talk about it.
Well, and I've noticed around our campuses how the signs in our restrooms have started giving the kinds of information that might help people who come onto our campuses, whether they be students, members of the community, employees, to help us, whether we're personally affected or whether we seem to be witnessing somebody that we could help out. Yeah. Who should someone contact if they suspect a person is being trafficked?
There's a national human trafficking hotline. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they're run by the Polaris Project. But they're very it's the numbers all over the place. You can Google it. It will pop right up. For anyone who's shy about contacting the hotline, I've had to contact it before when I suspected some things going on. So you could either report an incident anonymously, you could give your name, and they take it from there. It's a wonderful resource. It really is.
That's fantastic. What are some other resources that are available to folks?
Well, I have some of these written down. There is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They have a cyber tip line, and they also have a function on their website that could help take down sexually exploiting pictures of children on the internet. Okay, I know that there's that old saying, once it gets online, it never gets off. But this is a tool to help that. There's a lot of NGOs or non-government organizations. We often refer to them as nonprofits in Houston. One in particular is called Elijah Rising, but there's some others, the Landing United Against Human Trafficking. And there's also some resources for survivors to help retrain them and maybe help them, fight human trafficking, including the Survivor Alliance and the National Survivor Network.
That is wonderful information. I know that you are a government professor. Can you tell us how, so you said you usually do this for your class. And
yes. About a year ago, I heard a presentation at the Stafford campus, and I went up and I introduced myself to the speakers, and I've gotten Sheila to come into my class about once a semester since then. But like I said, I decided to open this up to the campus this time.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So is there a way that this particular issue sort of impacts the kinds of content that you're teaching in your courses?
It is. I mean, my role as an educator is to help prepare my students to navigate the society in a civic responsibility.
Right.
Also, HCC's charter is to educate not only our students, but the community. And I can't think of a more important subject than that. So yes, I do talk about human trafficking in both of my classes, although I probably focus a little bit more on it in Texas government than federal government.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it seems like HCC would be a great place for a survivor to come and get an education, figure out a career, figure out a path forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Byran Martin. government instructor at Northwest College and organizer of this upcoming event. We'll have your information in our post after the show, and I expect that you'll see a lot of us there to hear your speakers give us more information so that we can be better equipped.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Coming up after a quick commercial break, Amy and I will return with some news and some announcements.
At Houston Community College, we make your lessons matter. Open the door to real-world education, where passions become careers. Find out more at hccs.edu and let your success take flight.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
And we're back with some news and announcements. First off, it's time to get creative. You can join the Creative Writing Club. The Creative Writing Club meets every Tuesday at a couple of locations and sometimes virtually on Teams, an organization dedicated to understanding and practicing the art in its many forms. The club hopes to create a public awareness of creative writing's impact on society. It has also extended its deadline to enter Vocable, the Journal of Writing and Art. They meet on Tuesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. at the Katy campus, which is in the WHI Learning Commons. They meet on Katy campus and the WHI Learning Commons, as well as on Teams. And the extension for the deadline is March 24th. So be sure to submit some of your work and check the post after the show for all the information.
Also, we have accelerated ESL, Enhance Your Communications. HCC's accelerated ESL program enhances grammar, listening, speaking, vocabulary, writing, pronunciation, and critical thinking for those who are learning the English language. Students build strategic skills and deepen their language proficiency through interactive activities and discussions. Check out our post after the show for more information.
And all of us need haircuts. These are very important things. And I'm not joking, I'm being very serious. And free haircuts are back. So on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you can take advantage of HCC's free haircuts. We have free barber services. They've returned to the HCC Central Campus. So make your plans now to take advantage. That's going to be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays only from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. That's going to be at the Central Campus in the J.B. Whiteley building, which is kind of close. It's across from Culinary near the garage. Walk-ins are welcomed, but appointments are always better. Check our post after the show for the number so you can call and make your appointment.
We are so excited to tell you about the art exhibition and reception at Central for a Central faculty member. The human condition and cultural identity are driving forces in Maria Valdez's work. But this exhibition features Houston's infrastructure, economy, population, and weather patterns. It runs through April the 4th at the HCC Central Fine Arts Gallery. Check out our post after the show for more information about this exhibition.
And you can pop over to 3100 Main and check out the new Cuisines Cafe, which is now open. Melissa and I got to visit it a couple of weeks ago for the first time. HCC has welcomed the new Cuisines Cafe to the first floor of the District Administration Building. It offers grab and go items as well as hot meals and a grill, and it's completely cashless. So make sure that you have your cashless pay system set up. You can check the post after the show for more information, and be sure to go get your lunch over there one day.
Also, Second Start is ongoing. Registration for some spring classes is still offered in a variety of programs and semester lengths. Our courses are also offered in a range of modalities, including online anytime, online on a schedule, hybrid, both face-to-face and partially virtual, in-person, and hybrid lab. To learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options to cover costs, go see hccs.edu/apply.
Well, thanks so much for joining me as my co-host and subbing for Nick. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow coming up, with March being Women's History Month and International Women's Day being this Saturday. Dr. Rima Adil will return to talk about some area events. And later we'll visit with Dr. Michael Edwards, former Northeast president, who is now HCC's new ombudsman. So I know he's going to come with lots of information for us later this week. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time.